Okay. Sorry. 1 minute as I fix my camera. All right. Things seem to be running good. 1 second, hold on. My, what the heck? Oh, 1 second. It seems like my noise gate is just really off. 1 sec. Huh, I don't know why. That really shouldn't be happening, but I guess I'll raise it. Hello? What? Why isn't that? It should be closing. Okay, whatever. Well, either way, we're just gonna continue doing stream. Oh god, I've been having too many tech issues, and it's so annoying. Let's see here. Pull this up just in case. At this point, we should be off and rolling. All right, y'all. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. This was honestly a pretty alright game from the Bulls. Was expecting a total disaster class tonight. Cleveland is the best team in the East, arguably the best team in the league right now, and Bulls have a lot of guys missing. Josh Giddey missed this game. Vucevic has been out. Williams has been out. Ball also missed the last game, and he's out tonight as well. No Kevin Huerter, so I was expecting a disaster class, honestly. But I was here just to kind of see, like, hey, you know, all the two-way players are available tonight. Maybe Diamond plays some of them. Unfortunately, they did not get any minutes until garbage time at the very end, but we got to see a lot of things in this game, and I think it's important to talk about. I do have to sincerely offer an apology to one player on the Bulls specifically, and we'll get to that. Overall, though, I want to just kind of make it clear about a couple things tonight. So first and foremost, just the game itself. I think the Bulls did a really good job against this Cleveland defense. I think they continue to push in transition even when, you know, there are some maybe moments they probably shouldn't have, but I would much rather you push it than, you know, back out consistently. I think that overall, the guys were doing a good job of taking their timings of when to really go after certain matchups, and I'm happy to see that, especially from the younger players. Like, okay, when do we take the timings? Like Buzella sees, like, oh, we have either a big on me or a smaller guy on me. Like, when do I take that timing to go ahead and take advantage of those certain matchups? Because this Cleveland team is pretty decent at the end of the day. And so, no, Mobley, I think, helped. Mobley is overall just, I think, this season, like, he missed one game, I know for sure, but he's been a thorn in our side for the most part. So, no, Mobley, I think, helped the Bulls a little bit, but I'm honestly pretty proud of how they played today. Still got the L, which is, you know, I know a lot of people are saying it's not that important, but it's a 2.5 game difference right now between the 10 seed and the teams below us. So, at bare minimum, you should just not be trying to win and randomly taking over the Hawks, let's say, in the Eastern Conference. So let's just continue to play a decent game. You know, I don't expect Billy Donovan or the players to go out and play badly, but go out there and just play a decent game, play hard, and ideally you lose, so you don't mess up any more of your draft position. So right now the Bulls are 8th. They're in an okay spot. Ideally get lower, but that's fine. But either way, I think this is it's an alright spot at the end of the day. So, a couple of things to go over in terms of just individual performances tonight, so we'll go over that. But then I also want to immediately kind of talk about some of the salary cap implications when this upcoming offseason is going to be happening. And the only reason why I'm going to be talking about this is that we've talked about the Josh Giddey, you know, contract coming up here, and some of the other things, but there's now all of a sudden some talks on Bulls Twitter right now about, like, oh, well, maybe the Bulls can sign this guy in free agency, and you know, we can sign this guy to this big amount of contract or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, let's make sure we go over this just to show everybody what the Bulls have to actually spend in free agency, and so we're not, you know, thinking too far ahead of like, oh, maybe the Bulls can go ahead and spend a lot of money this upcoming offseason. In short, they can't. Bulls are pretty much already over the cap heading into this upcoming offseason, and they only have cap space unless they will only have cap space if they get rid of Giddey's rights and don't offer him the qualifying offers. So I want to kind of go over just a little bit of details of the Bulls salary cap for the future, because AK kind of laid out like a plan in that Giving the Hot Sauce podcast with Stacey King, and like it really wasn't a plan, but sure, we could talk about it. And we'll talk about not only this upcoming offseason, but then in the future off seasons as well, for the Bulls and what their salary cap situation looks like. Because I think that's honestly the time to kind of start looking at this stuff, because it's crazy to say, we're in March. I feel like the first 2 months of this year just went boom, it's gone. So we do have to start talking about some of the future stuff here. It's going to have Viper Strike. Not as bad of a loss as I was expecting. Yeah, I honestly agree. I think this is a pretty alright game from the Bulls. All things considered, a lot of guys missing. A lot of the players that we had to play tonight haven't really played a lot. THC had one hell of a game tonight, so shout out to him. And you know, a lot of the other players that we just haven't played a whole ton in there, I think they did all right. So big shout outs to those guys. Some sides of life were shown. THT is the funniest player in the league. Yeah, I mean, THT is genuinely hilarious, because the dude looks like he is so much older than he is. But God, man, like there's just moments of THT where I'm like, wow, that's a hell of a finish by you, you know? Like you go and you make this finish. It's like, that was heavily contested at the basket, but because of like your 7-foot+ wingspan, you're able to get that to go. He's not the most athletic guy in the world. So it's really impressive, honestly, when I see that. But then there's moments with him that you're just like, what are you doing? Like, he genuinely looks like a bowling ball out of control. So, yeah, I really just don't know what to think of THT. He impressed me in the preseason game, so shout out to him for that. But I do think that we will be moving out from him after this year, which is fine. I'm not too upset about it. Look, it's not good. Okay. If for some reason it says that my mic is picking up whenever I stop talking. I don't know if you guys, you might be able to barely hear it, but I'll stop talking for 1 second. Like, there's right now in OBS, it says that like it's picking up just a little bit of sound, and like I've never had that before with this current mic and the current filters I have running, so it's just kind of shocking to me that it's doing that. But it is what it is. I'm not too concerned. I mean, I'll raise the noise gate just a tad bit more just in case, but I think we're fine overall. Yeah, let me know if anything goes bad though, because I know my internet's been bad recently, and we've had a lot of rain today, so maybe it's hopefully it doesn't go bad tonight. I hate watching Donovan Mitchell play. I like the rest of that team though. I know a lot of Bulls fans hate Donovan Mitchell. I guess I'm just not one of those people, but I understand why you hate Donovan Mitchell for sure, Rozzy. So yeah, I don't blame you at all. I don't know why I don't hate him. Like I mean, I know he had the 71 against us, which everyone, you know, talks about. Well, you know, he jumped the free throw line early. Like I guess it's just a guy that, like, you know, I guess I was just right about him during his draft process. I was like, he's going to be good. Didn't think all-star good. I just said he would be good. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm happy that he turned out that way. So, but yeah, I understand why a lot of Bulls fans hate him. I just don't, at the end of the day. You can see why THC fooled the Lakers into playing him and thinking he was a future star. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, because of his large wingspan, you think that he's like a really decent defender when he probably really isn't that good overall. Like, he's not that good of a defender. The wingspan makes up for a lot of things, but he is only 6'4". And he's just not that athletic. So it's just very funny to look at. But yeah, I can definitely see why the Lakers were a little bit tricked. Not a bad first round preview, in my opinion. That's very funny. If the Bulls make it out of the play-in tournament, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'll be so upset if we make the playoffs this year. But I mean, there's a shot. There's definitely a shot. So I'll be interested. Not hearing anything when you stop. Okay, that's good. Yeah, OBS says there's something. So again, I always look at OBS, but I hope to God that's not the case. So yeah, appreciate that. So let's go ahead and just talk about a couple things this game. I do want to go ahead and give the officials right now just some of my fire right now. The officiating in the NBA is god awful. I am pissed off with how the officials have looked all season long. Their decision making, their calling, they don't. There's no consistency from game to game. I don't understand what the officials are doing at all. And this game was just another example of it. Like, forget the free throw discrepancy. Like, it is what it is. The Bulls don't shoot a lot of free throws anyway. Even especially without Giddey tonight, like, you're not going to get to the line. But it's just the amount of BS I see in a game, and this went for both teams in my opinion tonight. The officials don't know what the hell they're doing at all. There's no consistency between calls on the floor between the two different teams. From night to night, I don't know what a flagrant foul is. And it seems like every different officiating crew has a different definition of a flagrant foul. And I know there wasn't a flagrant foul today, but it's one of those things I've just been witnessing, and I'm just so annoyed by it. So once again, I mean, this doesn't really even matter, but like, no one's going to listen to me about this, but there needs to be some sort of there needs to be a punishment for the officials, because it's gotten to the point now where I think all the officials understand that they can do no wrong, and they have the power to fine NBA players $1,000 if they want to or not. And that's insane. So I really do think that the officials need to, at this point in time, like, the NBA needs to find some sort of middle ground where they can punish bad officiating, because this is insane. I know Ty Jerome just recently called out one of the officials in his last post-game press conference, and he just got fined by it for it. It's not just her, by the way. Like, Natalie, that was just called out by Ty Jerome. It's all the officials. It's not just her. A lot of the officials right now are dreadful. They're so bad with their officiating. They're missing calls. They're missing easy calls. I understand that there's always going to be errors because it is officiating in the NBA at the end of the day, but there's some things that cannot be missed when you're officiating a game, and we're missing way too many of those right now. So that's my little rant to start this little stream here. All right, for the Bulls overall in this game, I think that the biggest thing that we should be taking away from this is that they continue to play their own style against this Cleveland Cavaliers team, okay? I've been pretty adamant about the fact that I think this Bulls team for the most of the season has done a good job on offense. There's definitely moments throughout the year where it looks like, God, this offense can't make a damn shot. Guys look, sluggish or whatever. It's fine. But for the most part, even when the shot typically, like, the shot's not going down, or we see the Bulls, barely make 10 threes, which they made 10 threes in most of their games this year. It's just that I appreciate the Bulls continue with their play style. That's all I really care about. And I think, yet again, tonight, the Bulls did a good job of that against this top-tier team, which is, I think, a big thing to take away from. Overall, the Bulls had 32 assists in this game. They had, 30 before they took the starters out. They had 19 at halftime, okay? And this was the Bulls didn't even shoot that great in the first half. Like, they shot, in low 40s. They shot, about 30% from three-point range. So I just sincerely do appreciate the Bulls continue to play this way. Even with all these guys missing, no more Levine or whatever, they've continued to play this way. And so the new guys also, I think, have done a good job of buying in. And that's going to lead me to my apology for Zach Collins right now, okay? Because I will say, I've been skeptical with Zach Collins for a while now. Not just, coming into this year, but also in his time with San Antonio. I don't know what happened. I honestly don't know what happened between him getting traded here and his time in San Antonio, but he has changed his ways. And the biggest thing for me is just his efficiency right now is very much higher than it was in his entire career. Zach Collins overall has, in his career, he's only had one season where he has shot above 50% from the field or better. He is shooting so far with the Bulls coming into tonight, he is shooting 57% from the field. So that's my apologies to him, because I did not think Zach Collins was going to come in and suddenly increases his overall field goal percentage by a good 10%. That's insane to me. That's just unheard of stuff. So I'm very surprised by him. So I will officially write my apology form to Zach Collins. I will officially sign that, right now, virtually, or wherever you want to say. If you want to send me the PDF, sure. But I'm officially going to give that to Zach Collins now, because I did not think that this little run that he was having against some of these, a little bit worse teams was going to continue. He faced a very premier defensive center tonight in Jarrett Allen, and he did a phenomenal job tonight. So, I don't know what happened. I mean, the dude suddenly shot 62% tonight, and he even missed 2 threes. again, if you're wondering why I was very like meh about Zach Collins, it's because in his career he just hasn't been that efficient as a center. I mean, you can look at this. So this is his time right now with the Bulls, but every single season besides this one right here where he was under 50% as a center, and if you're wondering what Jared Allen shoots an insane percentage. So like, I do think that some of us as Bulls fans need to start kind of flipping the switch about how we think of centers, because like we're so like, you know, thinking about how Vooch plays. When I think of centers right now in the NBA, unless obviously you're Jokic or Embiid or a guy that handles the ball a lot, centers that are rim running centers that don't really shoot a lot of threes, they're consistently in the 60s right now, or at least in the high 50% from the field overall. So when Zach Collins came here, I'm just like, well, I mean, he's an okay player, but his efficiency to me is the biggest issue. Is just like his overall efficiency as a center, 7-foot center, is just not good enough. And he has come here so far and he has done phenomenal. So shout out to him. I guess it was shooting a little bit worse coming into tonight's game, so I do apologize about that, unless this was updated just recently. But I mean, he shot 62% tonight, so this is going to increase yet again. I'm just shocked overall, like genuinely. I'm just very shocked at how efficient he has been, so I will officially sign that form. However, I will say this. Don't be shocked though if suddenly the efficiency dips a little bit. That's not me saying, oh, he's going to start taking threes and missing them, just in general, because that's just how he has been as a player in his career. Like, I understand it's like, oh, it's like 48%, it's like up to close to 50, but I want him in the high 50s as a center, especially for a guy that's not going to be shooting threes. So I will officially apologize to Zach Collins. If he continues to play like this, then absolutely the Bulls should be looking at him as like a backup. Not $18 million a year, which is what he's making next season, but just in general, I think that we can look at him as a nice overall backup. So yeah, is it time to give up Dalen Terry to give him another chance? So here's another thing I wanted to just quickly answer, because I saw some people talking about this on Twitter. The Bulls have already picked up Dalen Terry's option, okay? This is a decision you have to make early on in the season. It's like almost like right before or like in the middle of training camp, I think, when the Bulls have to pick it up. But basically, yeah, it's before the first game. But basically, the Bulls picked up his option back in September. So all things point to the Bulls giving Dalen Terry another year. I know it's kind of crazy, but he's been overall pretty disappointing. I understand, but I think all things are kind of pointing to that he will get another season for the Bulls. I will say though that maybe they just want to trade him just for scraps. You know, it is $5 million, so we'll see. I just think everything's pointing to him staying here because they have other players to offload first before they need to offload him. And $5 million is not the biggest thing in the world, but you know, it could be if they make certain moves at the end of the day. I don't even complain about the refs, but yeah, that game was rough. Oh, I completely agree. The refs were awful tonight, and I just can't stay quiet about it. I got from Bulls need to find a center this draft slash offseason to Collins slash Smith should be fine to hold them over. I do think that they can definitely maybe hold them over. Are they part of the future? No, like they're not going to be here probably past their contracts, or maybe if you sign Zach Collins again, it'd be like to a 2-year deal. But they're definitely not the starting centers of the future for sure, but they've at least played it well enough to the point where I'm like, okay, well, yeah, maybe you can just kind of stay here for next season, and like I'm not going to be freaking out too much about it. You think we keep Phillips for next season? For sure. The biggest thing about Julian Phillips, like even if people are kind of like underwhelmed by him, it's just that he's very cheap next season. He's making $2 million next year. For the Bulls, there's just no reason to give that up. I think he's overall he's done okay this year. He's definitely done better than Dalen Terry, at least in my opinion. So I think Phillips is definitely staying next season. This year, I've really come down on Kobe, and it's not his lack of shooting. It's the fact that his court mapping is legit not progressing. He relies on penetrating pitch. I agree. I think overall for tonight, I'm not going to be too critical of Kobe, but there are definitely moments tonight where, like, on like a potential fast break opportunity, and he's like going into like all the trees when it's like you should probably be kicking that one out, and then he'll shoot a shot when it's just like I don't know why you shot that one. He did overall pretty well tonight, all things considered. He's you know, guarded by some of the better defenders by the Cavs tonight. So you know, I'm gonna give him his props. I'm not gonna be here like, oh wow, what another awful game by Kobe. Like, he had an all right game tonight, but there is definitely some whack decisions from him that is probably the reason why it's hindering his overall progressing in his career, because it's just like, why are you doing this sort of decision when you are not the most efficient player in the first place, and then you go and make a bad decision? It's kind of just where we're at this point with him. Change of scenery helps a lot of players, got lucky with Vooch getting injured. I mean, I agree that change of scenery can help some players, but like what Collins has done so far has been very impressive to me. Like, this is not what I was expecting. For a guy that has had already multiple seasons in the NBA to then come here and look pretty different, honestly. And he's not like he's like the youngest guy in the world. He's 27. Like, that's crazy to me. I just, that's not something I would bet on. So, you know, big props to him. Yeah, I thought Zach was gonna struggle with Giddey, without Giddey, because he plays well with him, but not. He was like, I'm the best player out there. I mean, yeah, like, it's honestly like, you know, I would even say that like he hasn't really even used Giddey like that much either. Like, I think Collins has done a phenomenal job of getting offensive rebounds. Like, he's rolling to the basket has been very solid. His passing, I do think that some people do overrate center's passing just a little bit, like how with Vooch, but he's done a really good job of fitting into the system, which is more impressive to me. And yeah, I am thoroughly impressed. So like, he just has to keep up this efficiency. I would just eliminate the 3-point shot from him, like, all the way right now. Like, I would just get rid of it completely from him. Like, I don't need him to shoot that. If you're gonna be shooting at least say 57% from the field overall just from your 2-point shots, then just shoot twos. The problem with him is just that he's been under 50% for his career. So it's like, okay, well, if you only shoot 48% overall, then it's like, okay, I need you to hit the 3-ball too. But just get rid of the 3-ball. Like, I think that'll be fine, honestly. Just work on your rolling to the basket and setting hard screens, and like, yeah, you're a pretty decent backup right now. I will say yet again, I do think the rebounding is a little bit inflated with this team, just because of just, you know, it's the same thing with Vucevic. Like, Vooch should be rebounding easily on this team. He's the only big guy out there on most nights. So I do think Collins, and we also saw Jalen Smith get, you know, a double-double tonight. I do think the rebounding aspect is a little bit inflated, but the scoring and defense from Zach Collins has been very impressive to me. That's been very, very impressive, and so I'm going to really, you know, give him his props and sign that apology form officially now. First, I'm going to say Collins is soft, low IQ, and a terrible defender, and I just feel like they're talking about an entirely different player. Granted, it's 8 games, right? So we might not have seen the full Zach Collins just yet. So, like, I'm going to full out just because I said that I thought Collins was going to come here and do nothing, right? So that's who's I'm signing that apology form. But I won't be shocked, though, if, like, let's say, you know, mid-March or something, he does, you know, slow down and doesn't look as good. Like, it could happen. What the Spurs fans were saying, though, I'm gonna be real. Like, they're not lying. He did not look good there. So, system, who knows? Like, just different personnel, maybe. But it's just odd. Like, it's just very odd just to see that, like, he just seems like a completely different guy since putting on a Bulls uniform. So, maybe he was injured with the Spurs. So, that's honestly my best bet, is just, like, he's been injured, which is another reason why I was very annoyed with getting him, because it's like, this guy has been injured for a lot of his career. I don't want him on the team. That's why I think he's dead weight. So, you know, maybe we haven't seen that part of him just yet. I mean, I definitely haven't, where he just gets injured. But yeah, I'm just very shocked, because what Spurs fans said, it was also my overall kind of evaluation of him. And this looks like a different guy. So, don't know what happened. I don't know if we traded for a different Zach Collins, but, you know, we'll see. I don't know if anyone else heard this or who the Shaw Sports Network audio guy is, but it's hilarious hearing Billy screaming at Buzzellis every time he makes a mistake. Yeah, Billy does tend to do that with the younger players. Like, I've also heard him yelling at Julian Phillips a lot this year. I don't know if I really know the audio guy, but I might know the audio guy, actually. Collins are pretty good. He's had some nice looks, I will say. So yeah, I will say that. I do think that some of the centers passing in this league, like especially for Vucevic, is a little bit overrated by people. Because the way people still talk about Vucevic, in my opinion, like sometimes people still act as if he is Sabonis, and I'm like, he's not Sabonis passing. Like he just isn't that level. Okay, a pretty good passer overall. But it's not like this guy is like running a fast break and then like he's making these awesome bounce passes to guys that are very hard to make. Like, he is a decent reader off the short pick and roll of where to place the ball after. So like, that's what I just think of Vooch. And then I do think that Collins is sort of similar, where like Collins is not a guy that's going to be, you know, making like the wicked Jokic passes or anything like that. It's just he's a guy that can he's done actually a really decent job of staying at the top of the key, or where like the point center sets that they run, and like he's kind of like the hub and like reading the cuts and everything. He's done a pretty decent job of that, arguably better than Vooch, honestly. And yeah, he's done a really good job off the short rolls as well. So keep it up. That's all I'm just going to say. I like Trey Jones a lot too. He's a quality backup in this league. I do think Trey Jones is a decent backup. I just think that just due to his lack of size, like he will get played out of some lineups. But he might, you know, he'll stick around with just like his decent finishing for a shorter player, and then his, you know, lack of turnovers, which he had a couple tonight, but his overall just kind of like assist to turnover ratio is like pretty solid in general. So like that's kind of like, you know, his overall just impact on the game. It's not gonna be anything special, but yeah, as a backup player and he's not getting paid too much, sure, you know, we'll take that. To be fair, a decent reader of the short pick and roll is a very important skill for centers, and a good amount of centers struggle with that. I mean, yeah, I agree. There are some centers that definitely struggle with that. I just think that the way that some people do talk about these things, like, for example, like, Derek Lively is a guy that I think as a center, like, people just act as if, like, you know, he isn't like that good of a passer. But like when I watch Derek Lively in the pick and roll sets, like he does a really good job of like, okay, I pick and roll, set the screen, he gets the ball and he sees the defender coming, like he'll make the right pass. And so like people act as if like, oh, well, what Vooch does is like insanely good for a center. I'm just like, well, like I've seen Derek Lively do this, just the exact same thing. Like I think that some people just, you know, people put the term good passer on a center and it kind of sticks, and then like the other guy that is actually probably pretty good as well, they just don't say anything. So I do think that overall, like for example with the Bulls, like when you look at Jalen Smith and you look at what Zach Collins has done so far, like they've done a pretty good job all season long. Like Collins very short stint, but Jalen Smith as I guess you can argue is a perimeter guy, but he's done a good job for the most part. So I just think that when we talk about Vooch's passing, it's just like it's a little bit overrated for what people are saying. It's like he's not Sabonis level. Like I would argue that he's probably worse than Karl Anthony Towns. Like it's not like, you know, what we're talking about is like the top echelon of centers. He's probably better than most of the centers in the league, but that's including backups and everything. Like we're just talking about as just like he's a, you know, I guess in all the starters, like he's in the top 15 in terms of passing as a starting center in this league. Better than obviously the other half of the league, but I do think that it's a little bit overrated for what people are saying. But Collins, I do think has done come in and done a good job of one, getting involved in the offense and getting comfortable with it, but then two, reading it well and then making some of those really good passes. So yeah, props to him for that. I really do think that's great. Maybe Vooch and Drummond have just warped by perception, or is that my perception? I personally hate Vooch's passing. I do think Vooch specifically coming out of the posts with his passing is pretty mid. But yeah, I can understand. I mean, I'm not here to try to hate solely on Vooch, but I will be a little bit critical of Vooch at the end of the day. Because I do think some people still kind of overrate his overall game. That said, though, I do think that, you know, hopefully some team will take him. So yeah, I want to go ahead and then, because as much as I've been hating on Donovan a lot, I'm going to give him his props tonight. Buzelis got the proper minutes tonight. That's been a problem all season long. He got his proper minutes tonight. this right here has been a little bit concerning for Buzelis recently. His 3-point shot has been kind of bad, but you know, rookie. But still 17 points tonight. He did pick up 5 fouls, but it is what it is. Really good moves though tonight from Buzelis. I'm really impressed with some of his moves tonight. He missed the layup tonight, but I was impressed by his triple threat move. I was just like, wow, like you really were able to create separation and just go up and get a pretty decent look at it, and you just happened to miss it. So big props to him for that. And then obviously I did mention him earlier, but I mean THT had a hell of a night tonight. Bulls needed scoring desperately with a lot of guys out. He performed greatly tonight. I honestly think he should have probably gotten more than 2 free throws tonight, because he I felt like got hit a lot in the lane tonight, and they just didn't call anything. Yet again, officials are just garbage. So yeah, I do think that's awesome from THT. I have to keep telling myself, like, THT did have like some injuries earlier in the season, so like he really wasn't playing too much. He also was not playing great in kind of before he got benched. So you know, hopefully it's gonna be all right for him moving forward. But I mean, I don't ever expect this sort of performance from him. He played basically starter minutes and put up a very, very efficient outing, and you know, didn't have that many turnovers or anything like that. So great from him. I just don't really expect this to ever continue. But of course, when I say that and I have full doubts of him, he just goes on and does well. So yeah, I mean, Viper Strike said it earlier. THT is a very funny player. He is very funny to watch. He's very funny to just kind of keep track of. So we'll see. We'll see how this continues with THT, because I have a feeling that, I mean, I don't know about Lonzo specifically, but I wouldn't be shocked if there's at least some of the other guys missing from here on out. We'll talk about Io's surgery here in a second, but THT might be getting some minutes, and so we'll see if he continues to get some. Real quick note, I mean, I didn't really expect anything different, but I was a little bit upset seeing Javon Carter play tonight. Not anything against him. It's just that I saw that all the two-way players for the Bulls were available tonight, and I'm like, oh, that's actually really good to see. So it made a lot of sense, obviously, with all the guys missing, but I was like, hey, maybe we'll get to see Emmanuel Miller, who's done a pretty decent job with the Windy City Bulls. I personally would have liked to have seen Emmanuel Miller play instead of Javon Carter. I understand, though, Billy's not going to change his ways. He's trying to win the game, as he should. But I would have loved to have seen Emmanuel Miller get some, like, normal rotational minutes tonight. I know that him and Jameer Young got to make their NBA debuts tonight in garbage time, but I would have loved to have seen Emmanuel Miller play instead of Javon Carter. So a little bit upsetting that we didn't get that, but it is what it is. I'm overall pleased with how the rotation was tonight, though, from Billy. And I'm just saying this just because I've been very critical of Billy recently, and I have to give him his props when it is due. So I'm going to give him his props tonight for making a pretty decent rotation, and going with, I think, was the right calls. Like, not really playing Dalen, like, that's fine to me. I was not very happy with how he's playing some of the moments. Picked up a lot of fouls in a limited amount of time. I don't think he was doing a good job on Mitchell, which I understand it's hard to guard Mitchell, but I would rather just have Julian Phillips out there right now. So yeah, we're gonna have to make some decisions, honestly, with Dalen moving forward here. Why was Lonzo out? Lonzo missed the last game as well. I honestly, I don't really know. Let me double check that. Drew Stevens. That's always the guy I go to. It's his right wrist. Oh, good boy. Okay. Here's the injury report. Right wrist sprain. So, this is, again, same reason why he missed last game. So, let's hope it's not too serious, honestly. Well, I won't bring it up. I won't bring up the contract, but, the most significant pieces. What do you think, Noel? Like, I think we can all agree Buzelis is a good piece, but like after that, like what are we looking at? But like I know Giddey's like we have to re-sign him, which is the reason why I'm not saying like, we have it just yet. But I mean, I know a lot of people are talking about him, but like after that, like I'm still saying like I think there's a lot to do still. Connor Chicago in 23, Caleb Chicago in 24, Coop to Chicago in 25. I'm a believer. Like, oh my god, bro. I hope. God, if we get Cooper Flag, we're in a very much better spot than we are right now. We're gonna second that number one option player. I don't mean like we would be a contender with that young potential number one option, but we really solid base, I guess. My argument though is just that like you can have the number one option, but let's say for example you don't get that this upcoming draft, or you draft probably 8th, which is where you're projected right now. Like you're probably not going to get the number one option in this upcoming draft. Like let's just be real. So if you don't get that, where are you? That's my only thing. Like, I don't really think the Bulls are in that good of a spot at that point because we don't have any extra draft capital, right? Besides some second round picks, which is one this year, but we traded our second round pick this year. So we had the Kings second round pick this year. But we got all of our picks back in the Levine trade, which I still don't understand that trade fully. But we don't have any extra picks. So like, that's kind of my only reason why I'm just like, I don't really think we had that great of a base still. I think there's a lot of ways to go. I mean, this is also just from what our evaluations are from, you know, Patrick Williams looks pretty bad right now, right? So like we're kind of like taking him out of like the young core potential and moving him off the table. I think Kobe White is most likely going to get traded here and probably should get traded. And you know, Dalen Terry, Julian Phillips, these guys haven't necessarily like developed that much this year. So it's like it's Montes Buzelis, who people argue about what sort of potential he has, and Josh Giddey, who some people think he's an all-star. I don't, right? And then you know whatever else we draft this upcoming draft, right? So I don't know. I'm not personally looking at this as it looks that great, at least in my opinion. I do agree that if you get a Cooper Flag, then it looks a hell of a lot better. But for me personally, I think this team still lacks young talent, like a lot of young talent, and there's not really a way for the Bulls to add a lot more this upcoming offseason besides the 2 picks that they have in this upcoming draft. And unfortunately for some of the vets like Vucevic, like Herter, and we'll throw Javon Carter in there as well, and you know we'll also throw in Zach Collins too. Like you're not going to be able to trade those guys for any young talent. That's like my only thing. So that's kind of the reason why I'm not really that. I don't really agree with that full assessment, Noel. But that's overall my assessment of like where I think Buzelis is going to be as a player and like what I think Giddey's going to be as a player. So I can understand that we can have difference of opinions on that. Kobe to the Magic for 25 first. I feel like if you're Orlando, like you're not going to trade a first for Kobe. I would love that for the Bulls, but I think if you're Orlando, you're going to go and trade that first round pick for something else. Especially if you're going to plan on him coming off the bench. Now, if he's going to start, that's a different story. But if he's going to come off the bench, I don't think you'd get a first round pick for Kobe. They Magic only has to Denver first. We can double check that right now. Real GM draft picks. Oh, I think Orlando might have some. They have like some very confusing stuff here. No, they have their own and Denver's. This 2026 though, I don't know what the hell this is. So like, you're not gonna have Denver's because Denver's not gonna be a bottom 5 team this year. So you'll get the pick this year from Denver. But like, I don't know what the hell this is. I've tried reading it with David, who's a Orlando Magic fan, one of my best friends. It doesn't make any sense to us. So we don't know if they have a pick or not in 2026. But then they have all their picks after that. I mean, still though, I would just assume that you don't trade your first or Denver's first for Kobe White, at least in my opinion. I'm done with Pat. I'm also pretty much done with Pat. That $18 million contract per year is going to kill us moving forward, but it is what it is. Okay, so really quickly, just to kind of wrap up the game itself, and then we're going to move on to some of the spot trek stuff here. So the Bulls did a good job on Garland and Mitchell early on. And overall, throughout the entire game, it looked pretty solid, besides Mitchell getting to the free throw line and then Garland hitting some threes later in the game. Or I guess some of his threes came at like right before halftime, which he hit 2. But overall, I'm very impressed by that. So like, the guys like Julian Phillips, for example, guarding Donovan Mitchell, especially when it was like the second unit out there, that was very impressive to me. So I'm gonna give him props for that. Shout out to Trey Jones and Javon Carter for taking those matchups throughout this game. I think they did a pretty decent job on those guys. That's a really good sign from the Bulls. Jarrett Allen just killed us though. I'm not gonna lie, Jarrett Allen just absolutely destroyed us. And the Cavs went on that like 9-0 run that could have been a 10-0 run with Javonte Green if he just made the free throw, but they went on a 9-0 run in, I guess in total it was 90 seconds because it was after a timeout, and they went on that run. But from when the time they first scored to then the last bucket that they made, it was like 70 something seconds. So like the Cavs in that fourth quarter just absolutely obliterated us, and it was because of this big reason why, because of this guy. Javonte Green hit some shots against us as well, so shout out to him because he's still looking like Javonte. I really think that the Bulls overall for most of the game did a pretty decent job on these guys. I know that the ending score doesn't look like that, but considering like no Ayo Dosunmu anymore, this team as a whole sucks defensively. You did a pretty decent job on like the main guys. You just happened to see some of these other guys really go on a tear, like Allen. Like Merrill hitting 4 or 6 is annoying. The free throws are a big issue though, so the fouls are a little bit too much, but I think overall the Bulls did decent. So big shot out there for those specific guys, because that's obviously not easy for the Bulls. And we did give up some for threes to some like Dean Wade and others that they just didn't go down, luckily. But overall for the main guys, they did a good job. Now I do think no Mobley kind of helped the Bulls tonight, but we'll take that. So really quick, we're going to go into spot track because I want to talk about a couple of things just to kind of reiterate some of the things that I want to show. I see entirely too many people on Bulls Twitter saying the Bulls should trade for LaMelo. I would hate that so much. I'd rather have kept Zach than build around Melo. I mean, so the theory about the LaMelo stuff, which first and foremost I agree with you. I think that's a horrible decision, AV Breeze. I think trading for LaMelo Ball is a horrific decision. The thing is with LaMelo, or people are saying, it's just like he's your number one guy, and when LaMelo is right, yeah, I think he could be your number one option. He's that good. Here's the thing though, obviously injuries, so this guy's been unfortunately just the Ball brothers, like I just want to just label them as just made of glass. I love both of them. It's just that they just seem to be made of glass, and it's not anything in terms of their conditioning or anything like that. It might just be genetics. Their dad just got his foot amputated, so I really think that with LaMelo, the risk is way too high in terms of his injury history to go ahead and make a big splash for him. I think that's a way too big of a risk. The other issue with doing that is the Bulls right now are just not set up for it. If you trade for LaMelo Ball, it's like the same thing what I tell people with Zion. If you trade for LaMelo, you're trying to win now. Okay, so for example, if the Bulls really wanted LaMelo, then it's like I would have rather have kept Levine as well. Why would you trade for LaMelo Ball right now when you don't have a number 2 scorer on the team. Forget Vooch for a second here, but like if you just don't have like your number 2 scorer for LaMelo. I'm aware that Charlotte is horrible and they're trying to, you know, build with Brandon Miller and everything, and so it's like, well, I mean, there's a second option over there. It's not working out too great, but it's like the Bulls are just not in a position for it. You're going to try to win with LaMelo, okay? And injuries are too big of a factor, but then I look at what the Bulls have to give up, and it's just like, I mean, look, I'm willing to give up Giddey, you know, more than others, but it's just like the first round picks is just so scary. The Bulls have all their picks, obviously, thanks to the Levine trade, but it's just too nerve wracking for me to give up at bare minimum 2 first round picks for a guy that is so injury prone. That makes no sense to me. I think that is a horrific decision to do that. So I know a lot of people really want LaMelo, and they think that, oh, I mean, Lonzo's here, go ahead and just try to trade for LaMelo and, you know, get the Ball brothers together and go and try to build around those 2 guys, and woohoo. It's one thing to go and try to sign LaMelo, right? If you're just spending your cap space on him. It's a whole nother thing if you're giving up future assets for him, okay? That's the biggest issue. I am not willing to give up any first round picks right now for a guy that is extremely injury prone. No thanks. I'm aware that people are like, well, Zion, you said it about Zion. I'm just like, okay, but we were also very aware with Zion that it's a win now situation if you're going to trade for Zion. So this still doesn't make any sense for the Bulls, because if you're trading for LaMelo, you're trying to win now. He's that good already that you have to try to win now. So my opinion makes no sense. So I completely agree that the people that are talking about that is just, God, it's so frustrating. Just to really quickly just show you what it would take, okay? Obviously, trade deadline is not it's not active right now, so it's like we can't make trades now. But LaMelo's making $35 million, okay? So he would have to sign and trade Josh Giddey. So let's say, for example, Josh Giddey gets a $20 million contract, okay? Then you'd have to factor in base year compensation for him. So basically, if Giddey is making $20 million, but you sign and trade him, in this deal, okay, then the amount of money that the Bulls are technically sending out in the trade is only $10 million, okay, because that's how base year compensation works. They've implemented this rule, so you can't just sign and trade guys easily, okay? So if you think about it, if you're trading Josh Giddey on a new contract, it would basically kind of be what he's making right now, but let's just say $10 million, okay? You'd probably also have to include Kobe White, so that gets you up to about 22 million. And I don't know what else it would honestly take, but sure, we'll throw in just Javon Carter just for the hell of it. Let's see, would this even do it? I don't even know if this would do it. Honestly, I don't even know if that would do it. Maybe Kevin Huerter's contract's actually going to come into factor here, but we'll see. Oh no, sorry, forget aggregation, but anyway, it would take probably Kobe, Giddey, and then whoever else just to make the contracts work. But that's obviously not it. You have to give up. So assuming that you're, I don't know why this isn't updated, by the way. This is wrong, but you're gonna keep your 2025 pick and ideally your 2026 pick. So you're probably giving up your 2027 and your 2029. Which is just like, why? Like, why would you do this? Personally, it doesn't make much sense to me. I would not want to do this. I would rather go and just try to rebuild fully. So that to me is just, at least in my opinion, that's an off the table type situation. But that's just my opinion at the end of the day. I understand why people would disagree. What's going on, Delbert? Hit the like. This guy gives us very detailed in-depth Bulls coverage. I appreciate it, Delbert. Yeah, hit the like button if you haven't already. I appreciate it a lot. It helps me out a ton. I'm going to lower the volume on the music. I just realized that's really high. Sorry about that. I also don't want to be led by 24 points on 22 shots guy. LaMelo is pretty inefficient overall. I do agree with that. God, keyboard. Yeah, I mean, for a guy that is his size, like, he shouldn't be shooting 40% from the field. Yeah, his 3-point percentage actually has dipped every single season. That's not great. Yeah, I agree. I would not want that. But if he is playing next to better players, I'm sure the efficiency goes up, but yeah, that's not going to happen for the Bulls anytime soon because we don't have a number 2. It makes no sense. So I just overall I hate the idea. It makes sense for current team building time. I agree, but granted, again, here's the thing. If you're AK, right, you don't want to rebuild. You want to say that this team's a playoff team. Well, go get LaMelo Ball, I guess, because that's what AK does. Okay, back to this, though, because we need to talk about this, all right? So here's the Bulls' current contract situation for this upcoming offseason. Okay, ignore this. This is this year, so we're at this year, all right? So biggest numbers to look at here is what we're going to scroll down, and the expected cap, salary cap is going to be $154 million, okay? Now, you're going to see here that's like, oh, well, the active cap for the Bulls projected this upcoming offseason is $134 million. So it's like, oh, well, the Bulls could have maybe $20 million in cap space. That's not the case, okay? I just want to make this clear now because I see way too many people already messing this up, okay? The Bulls are not going to have cap space this upcoming offseason, assuming that they get the qualifying offer to Josh Giddey. That alone is going to cut off the Bulls' cap space, okay? If you're wondering why, here's why. Josh Giddey, heading into this upcoming offseason, his cap hold is going to be $25 million, okay? If you don't understand what that means, basically whenever a player heads into free agency, they have a cap hold, all right? Now, long story short, if you have the bird rights of this player, you need to keep that cap hold to hold on to their bird rights, okay? But that cap hold counts against the salary cap. So you can't just be like, oh, well, this guy's currently a free agent. His cap hold is this much money. Well, we can go and use, whatever money that is his cap hold for some other player and then re-sign that guy as well. That's not how it works, okay? The cap hold eats into your salary cap, okay? So Josh Giddey's $25 million cap hold is counting against the Bulls salary cap. The only way the Bulls are going to get this, $20 million projected salary cap space is if they get rid of all their cap holds, okay? Which would include Josh Giddey. And that would pretty much make it impossible for the Bulls to re-sign Josh Giddey at that point, unless he takes the mid-level exception, okay? Which we all know that's not going to happen right now. So for the Bulls basically to just re-sign Josh Giddey, and also Trey Jones also is going to have a $17.3 million cap hole, and we also have his bird rights as well. You're going to have to keep both these guys' cap holds to re-sign them this upcoming offseason. And we'll see about Trey Jones, right? But either way, you're looking at keeping both these cap holds heading into the offseason, so you're probably not going to be able to sign guys. Therefore, as you can see here, the total cap holds is at $51 million, so the total cap allocations heading into the offseason is going to be a projected $185 million. I'm aware this cap hold is still here. I don't know why we still have this, but, Keith Smith has always said that teams hold on to these cap holds for whatever reason. But basically, though, get rid of Matt Thomas's cap hold, I guess. But you're heading into this upcoming offseason with $183 million then. And that's not factoring in these guys. But either way, you're still looking at being well over the cap with the cap holds in place. So with that being said, long story short, if you didn't want to listen to all that, basically the Bulls don't have cap space this upcoming offseason, okay? So the Bulls are going to have to go, if they're going to sign any guys, okay, it's going to be with the mid-level exception. The mid-level exception this upcoming offseason is going to be around $14 million, okay? It's going to be projected around there. If you're wondering, well, what is the mid-level exception? Well, the Bulls use the non-taxpayer mid-level exception to sign Jalen Smith this last offseason. As you can see here, this is what they used. They used about $8.5 million of what at the time was about $13 million of the mid-level exception to sign Jalen Smith. The mid-level exception is money given to a team that is not in the tax in the previous season, which the Bulls aren't, and they're allowed to use this money even when over the salary cap, okay? So at most, the Bulls are going to have about $14 million to spend this upcoming offseason to sign a guy, okay? However, I want to keep this in mind for everybody. If you do use more than half of the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, so if it's going to be $14 million, so let's say you use $7 million or more, you are then hard capped at the first apron, okay? As you can see, the first apron projection is going to be $195 million this upcoming offseason, so that's something just to keep in mind. The Bulls, if you're wondering, are hard capped at the first apron this year because they use the non-taxpayer mid-level exception on Jalen Smith this last offseason. So they are hard capped at the first apron, which is at $178 million this season, okay? The total cap allocation, though, is at $168 million right now currently. So basically, if just long story short right now, the Bulls only have about $10 million to spend more for this season, okay? Obviously, that's this season. That's not next season, but it's just something to keep in mind because, as you can see here, this projected number is right here. So if, let's say, the Bulls are at $185 million before using the NTMLE, then they only have about $10 million to spend of it. So just keep that in mind. Basically, though, what I'm saying is that if the Bulls are going to be any sort of spending, do any sort of spending this upcoming offseason, all right, they have to get rid of some of these contracts. Hence the Vooch contract, which is what I've been begging to get off of for a long time. I would love Zach Collins' contract also to be gone in any way possible. I know he's played well recently, but $18 million is a lot. Same thing with Kevin Huerter. These are guys that are making the most amount of money, and are they part of the future? Probably not, right? Patrick Williams, unfortunately, that there's no way in hell we're getting rid of that contract, so we're stuck with that for the time being. But if they're gonna have some money to spend, they got to get rid of some of these guys to open up cap space along with the cap holds that they're going to be currently having. But also, they might have to get rid of some guys just to make sure they can spend all their non-taxpayer mid-level exception. We'll see what the contracts are for Trey Jones and Josh Giddey, but that's going to matter at the end of the day. Real quick, just a look at the upcoming free agents for the NBA. We kind of talked about this briefly, but like, who are some non-taxpayer mid-level exception guys to go after this upcoming offseason? And it's just like, I don't really know, honestly. I know Charles, who's the Australian that comes in. He's like, he wants Ben Simmons, right? He thinks it might be a good flyer to take on. I personally would not want Ben Simmons, but that's everyone has their own decisions at the end of the day. But I'm going to just initially just go to unrestricted free agency just because, like, there's no way you're going to get a restricted free agent with the MLE. But, like, we need forward depth. So look at some of these guys. I wouldn't mind, like, a Trey Lyles, honestly. Like, that'd be one of those guys to look at. The other guy, I mean, we'll see how much money he's going to be getting. But, like, Precious Achiuwa is always a guy I've liked. So get him if possible. I think that's a guy to kind of go after. As well. So like, these are like just kind of like two guys just to maybe take a flyer on. Precious is only 25. I guess Trey Lyles is a little bit older than I thought he was. So kind of just whatever you want to think. We might be fine at center, honestly, with Collins and Jalen Smith, but we'll quickly look at it. And honestly, besides Kevon Looney, I'm not really interested in anybody. Jackson Hayes, I guess. I know a lot of people have talked about him, but and Paul Reed has not really done anything with the Pistons. So just quick look at guards, though. Like, I don't really want any more guards on the team. There's too many on the team already. But if we had to kind of just throw some money at some guys, not really seeing anybody, honestly. So again, just basically saying, like, don't expect a lot this upcoming offseason. Like, it's going to probably be relatively the same team next year. And obviously without Levine, the team's going to be worse. So hopefully we get the good draft pick overall, which is the goal. However, the reason why I brought this up is just because AK went on the Give Me the Hot Sauce podcast, okay? And he was sort of talking about a plan, but like, it really wasn't much of a plan. He talked about Patrick Williams having an off-season plan for him. The Bulls do. And it's like, okay, well, I hope that works out, because clearly the off-season workouts with DeRozan didn't do shit. So I hope that off-season plan does something better for him. But basically, it was kind of like this 18-month plan for AK. And I'm just like, okay, well, let's see. Like, he says that he wants to start spending more money in 2026, free agency. And that's kind of the reason why I brought this up. Okay. So why am I talking about this right now? Well, there's a couple of things we need to keep in mind, right? So right now, if you're wondering, right, with how the projected cap space looked for the Bulls, so the projected overall number is going to be $170 million, okay, for the cap, right? So this year for $170 million, obviously a much big increase from 140, right? So we're talking about $170 million for the 2026 offseason, okay? The Bulls, at this current moment in time, only have about $45 million given out, or like, you know, given to players, committed, I should say. Projected committed, because we don't know about Lonzo's contract just yet, but we're assuming it's 10 and 10. But this is also a team option too, so we could decline this. But assuming we pick this up, and assuming he's still here, the Bulls have $45 million committed. Okay. Now this does not include the Josh Giddey extension coming in, right? It does not include Trey Jones if he gets a new contract. It also does not include if Kobe White or Ayo Dosunmu get new contracts with this team. Okay. But let's say, for example, Josh Giddey gets $20 million, or let's say in this year be about $22 million, because it goes up every year. So instead of $45 million, we're looking at, let's say, 67. Let's say Trey Jones, we're just gonna guess high with Trey Jones. So let's say with Trey Jones, it's gonna be relatively the same, honestly, with what he's getting right now. So he's making $9 million this upcoming season. So let's say it's $10 million in 2026. Again, we're projecting high for Trey Jones. So 67 goes to 77. I think we're going to really be trying to re-sign Ayo, but the biggest thing, no matter what, is just his cap hold is going to be here. But reminder, we can re-sign him over the salary cap. So like, he's not that big of a priority just yet. Assuming we're going to trade Kobe White, and then we don't bring back anybody else from any of this stuff here, we're looking at a lot of money this upcoming offseason. So just, you know, assuming that there's going to be probably more add-ons just projected, right? We're just going to go ahead and just, I'll go high kind of on the projections, but like, let's say the Bulls have $90 million committed for the 2026 offseason, okay? But like heading into it, that's, you know, including Giddey contract and other potential moves they make along the way, then this upcoming offseason, man, is huge. You gotta really make sure you cash in correctly. And I'm just kind of like, you know, looking over the market, and I'm like, I don't know what AK is looking at. Like, what are we specifically going after? You know, I forgot to also add in the picks. That's also important. So let's say $100 million then committed. I completely forgot about the draft picks, which that's even projecting high if it's 100 million. We'll just say 100 million. Okay, so let's say you have $70 million to spend this offseason. Okay, I'm just kind of looking at this. I'm just like, well, like, who are we going after? Like, who is AK like seriously gonna like take a risk on? Like De'Aaron Fox, if you're wondering, he's staying in San Antonio. Like, why would he leave? You're not going after a 32-year-old Fred VanVleet, a 34-year-old now torn ACL Kyrie Irving. James Harden's gonna be 36. Like, I don't really see anybody here in the guard position that's like that really worth it. You're not gonna go after LeBron, Kevin Durant, right? So Porzingis, like, we would probably need a center at that time. Like, I don't know. I would hope it not. I would hope it's not DeAndre Ayton. That would make me lose my mind. I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr. is definitely interesting, but I would assume that Buzelis at the time is going to be your starting power forward at that point. So I'm just like, the reason why I brought this up, because it's just like, if AK has this major plan to go and start spending in the 2026 offseason, then I'm like, who are we spending it on? Like, I don't know. I'm losing my mind. Like, Luka's a player option in the first place, but like, we know Luka's not coming here. And again, why would he, you know, just again, player option. I think, yeah, I saw Lillard player option again, but why would he come here? Like, it's looking really rough. So biggest thing I will say is just like, maybe the AK goes and try to get some quality players, but just him doing that is just so backwards. So just the way I would team build overall. I know I'm kind of rambling, so I do apologize. Just try to keep up. But what I'm trying to get to is just that if AK really is trying to plan on spending in the 2026 offseason, bro, I am very nervous he's going to be spending it on some BS. Just to spend some money, just to show like, hey, we're spending money, guys. See? Like, we're going out here, we're spending money. Like, you guys want us to spend money? We're spending money. Like, I am very nervous that that's what's going to happen here. So, I'm really not sure, bro. Like, I'm very concerned that, like, we're going to start spending money on just some BS stuff. Like, guys that are not coming here. Like, I expect Banchero to have a new contract. Same with Chet Holmgren. Like, these guys are not going to be available. I mean, maybe you could get Keegan Murray away from the Kings. Sure. Like, maybe that's an option. But, again, restricted free agency is a very scary thing to play. So I don't know, bro. I'm just kind of pointing it out that, like, unless you're going to be really going after some of these, like, younger guys that are heading in restricted free agency and offering them a serious bag that their incumbent teams are not going to be wanting to, you know, match the offer, which is just an insane idea in the first place to do, then I don't know what the hell you're spending your money on this 2026 offseason, bro. Like, I'm losing my mind thinking about what this could do for the franchise, where you're going to be locking up guys on terrible contracts just so that you spent some money and you can go be another playing team. So, just overall, what I'm trying to get to is that I think the Bulls, in terms of their salary cap flexibility, it's not in the best position because this upcoming offseason is not looking great in terms of what we could potentially do to help make the team, you know, better for the future. But they have a lot of salary cap flexibility in 2026 and beyond. It's just that I don't know what we're going to be spending it on. Like, I don't really see anything to spend it on. Nothing that's really worthwhile. So we really, kind of what I'm boiling down to here is just that this Bulls team, like, this future of this franchise, unless we're going to make some massive trade, okay, which, I mean, let's be real, bro. I don't know how legit that is. It comes down to drafting well. Like, dead ass. Like, it's gonna have to come down to Arturas Karnisovas and the rest of the front office drafting well, and hopefully we're gonna be getting a good spot in the drafts. But it's gonna come down to those guys, because I really don't see any other way this Bulls team is gonna be getting a superstar or a number one option anytime soon, besides developing one. Like, if you're wondering, okay, when we don't spend in 2026, then, like, you're kind of looking at a really odd scenario then, because it's like, well, we gotta re-sign Buzelis at this point in 2027. Actually, no, he's actually under contract for 1 more year. Oh, that's actually interesting. Huh. Either way, though, you're looking at, again, it's just a weird spot at this point. But again, you're not getting Steph, you're not getting Lillard, you're not getting Butler. So is it go get Giannis? Like, maybe that is the plan all along, but man, oh man, I'd be very, very shocked if you're able to get him. But this would be the offseason to go ahead and spend your money on, right? There's just a lot more options available, a lot more quality players. So if I had to go and tell AK like when to spend the money, it would be in 2027. But it seems like his plan is to spend in 2026. I'm just like, I'm losing my mind. I'm like, bro, you better not, like, you know, these better be really good signings, or else you're going to be eating into our salary cap flexibility for a massive offseason in 2027. So get it right, please, because I'm going to lose my mind if you don't. And you spend all of our money at the improper time, and then we can't, you know, spend our money at the proper time. So, like, if there is an offseason, it's this offseason, right? Giannis is available. Forget the older guys. Like, I don't want Davis. I don't want Butler, Lillard. Like, forget those guys. But, like, you know, maybe if Jokic does decline that player option, which I don't think will happen, but maybe Cat's available. Donovan Mitchell's available. Like, these guys, obviously, you're willing to give the max money to. Shea, I expect to have the super max in OKC, so I don't really expect that to be changing anytime soon. But I mean, like, Isaiah Hartenstein, for example, is an unrestricted free agent this year. Like, yeah, like, I'm willing to spend the money on him. There's, you know, other guys kind of down here as well, in terms of, like, the restricted free agents and stuff like that. But you're looking at just a more just fruitful offseason than in free agency than in 2026. So I just want to go ahead and just address that now, because I was really concerned with the comments that AK made in that Give Me the Hot Sauce interview. You know, some people are going to buy it. For me, I mean, I think that I think a lot of people should have the right to kind of be like, well, I don't really believe in him, to make the proper decisions. But I'm also giving you right now the reason why I have no faith in him, because I showed you that in the free agency in 2026 it's bare bones. It's like, what are you spending your money on? In 2027 though, yeah, I mean, hey, I'm willing to spend all the money in the world, but if your plan is in 2026 to be spending money in 2026, I hope it's a lot of one-year contracts. That's all I'm gonna say, because I do not want to be spending a bunch of money on guys that are not going to be that impactful. So good luck. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. Good luck, AK. Figure it out. It's pretty much just me saying yet again, when you listen to AK, okay, like, a lot of people want to believe in him. Like, there's a lot of people, especially the big Josh Giddey supporters, they're saying that they believe in AK's vision of what this team's gonna look like in the future. My only thing is just that if you really want to believe in him, then I have a list of evidence to show why you shouldn't believe in him. But I also am looking at what he has said to us in his interview, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell your plan is. I'm showing you why I don't believe in his plan, because I don't know what the hell the plan is. So whether that's AK just, you know, blowing smoke up in the air, just be like, hey, like, just listen to this BS, we have different plans though, or it's his actual plan. I'm just basically saying don't listen to him, because I don't really know what to look at in terms of, like, yeah, this is gonna work. If you're gonna listen to him and just, you know, follow along the way the disaster class is about to be coming, then sure, that's fine. But if you're gonna be a person that really believes in him and listens to everything he says and believes in his vision, I'm just telling you right now, I don't know what you're smoking, but God, it better be something amazing, because I don't know what we're looking at here that's going to be helping this team moving forward in 2026. Again, assuming that all the older players, like LeBron's probably retired, Luka is probably extended at this point. Like, I don't really see a world where you're getting like a superstar, franchise chasing superstar, or a very, very, you know, upper echelon all-star in 2026. So your money better be spent in 2027 instead, because if you spend it in 2026 and you have nothing for 2027, oh boy, that's going to be a disaster. So just keep this in mind with the recent podcast that was just released with AK and Stacey King, Mark Shanowski, and the Give Me the Hot Sauce crew. Just kind of give me why I don't believe in him at all, because I don't know what the hell his plan is, which is what I say a lot about AK. I don't know what the hell his plan is a lot of the time. Would you make a big move for a Mavs big if they blow it up? I mean, bro, if I can get Derek Lively, then, I mean, it matters obviously what I got to give up, but if I can get Derek Lively, then yeah. The problem is just, I mean, if you're the Mavericks, like, why would you give him up? I think if you're the Mavericks, right, like, you have Derek Lively basically under contract for a long time. So Lively, this is his second year. He's under contract next year in the following season, and then he's heading into restricted free agency after that. So, like, you basically have full control over him for about 4 years, like the next 7 years, or not counting this year, the next 6 years. So, I mean, I would love Derek Lively, bro. I would be very, very happy with Derek Lively, but oof. If you're the Mavs, why would you give him up? Not the first time asking that. I mean, you're right. You're absolutely correct. But the one thing that Derek Lively does play is defense. So I'm going to assume that Nico Harrison is not going to give up a very good defensive center that's only 20 years old under team control. But that might be a horrible assumption to make, honestly. That might be a horrific assumption to make, because, dear Lord, the Mavericks might be cursed. Yeah, I am so sorry, Mavericks fans. I know none of them are in this chat right now, but I am so sorry for you guys. Yeah, Kyrie tearing his ACL honestly might be the icing on the cake of what has been one of the worst seasons in NBA history for a franchise. Anthony Davis is probably not returning, and why would he? You're not making the playoffs right now with the current state of your team. Everyone else is injured. Jaden Hardy's out, for God's sake. Like, God almighty. I would hate to be a Mavericks fan right now. Derek Lively's out. it's just everything going on right now. Meanwhile, the Lakers are the second seed in the Western Conference right now. Luka Doncic is looking like Luka Doncic again. You know, I kept telling people you just gotta wait a second because he's not in game shape, and once he gets into game shape, he'll look fine. And hence, you know, more recently he's looked fine. Not shocking to me whatsoever. He's Luka Doncic at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, honestly, AV Breeze, I don't know at this point. AD might ask out entirely, but because he only plays one game for the Mavs. I mean, honestly, bro, like if you're Anthony Davis right now, like Kyrie just got injured now, right? It's the beginning of March, so he is not gonna be ready to start next season. I promise you that. He'll probably come back next season, but it won't be at the start. So it's all you. Like, AD already likes being second fiddle, right? He doesn't want all the pressure of being the number one guy. So, you know, you're relying on Kyrie to be that sort of, you know, ball dominant creator. And suddenly now he's out for at least until probably January. Like, there's no way in hell Anthony Davis is going to want to be there. And Klay Thompson's another year older. Like, oh God, bro. I mean, if Nico Harrison truly believed in this team, this year and next season just got completely blown up for him. Like, he's gonna use this excuse of like, oh well, you know, Kyrie got injured, etc, 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 and it's just like, well, you traded a guy that you said was injury prone and out of shape, so I'm sorry, this is still your fault at the end of the day. But he said now 2 years are already go down the toilet because, you know, these injuries happened. So bring him home? No, absolutely not. As good as a player AD is, no. It makes no sense for the Bulls. I mean, in 2027, maybe, but not now. Definitely not right now. Definitely not next offseason, so. Because again, if it's like, if you're going to bring him in now, then why the hell did you just trade Zach? Like, it makes no sense why you just did that. But it is AK at the end of the day. I will say that for sure. It is AK. But yeah, if AD actually only plays one game for the Mavs, that's going to be hilarious to me, because that's going to honestly be the biggest, like, for Nico Harrison specifically, that's the biggest middle finger to him about his entire plan, is if AD's like, yeah, I'm out. I don't want to play for you guys anymore. Like, the whole plan for Nico Harrison was to trade Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. Any draft pick outcome where you trade to move up or down this year? Honestly, I mean, if the Bulls land at 12, then I mean, I would kind of think about it. It would matter who's ahead of me, but I mean, there is the small chance currently the Bulls land at 12 right now. Wait, am I no 8th, 9th, 10th? Sorry, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so there is a chance they land at 12. Maybe, but I personally, overall, for the most part, like 99.9% of the situations, I would just say no. I'm definitely not moving up. If there's any situation where I might move back, it's if, like, for example, and this is a very situational thing, but it's like, let's say the Bulls get the 4th overall pick, and it's like, okay, well, we know who the top 3 are going, and it's like, well, you know, we have a chance. I don't know, it might have to be like a team like San Antonio who has like 2 high picks already, but they didn't get the top picks. It's like, if we can trade 4 for like 6 and 14 or whatever, like, I would maybe consider it, but either way, I probably still wouldn't do it. It would have to be very situational, where it's like, okay, I know I can get my guy at 6, and then we also get another player at, like, you know, mid mid first round, or you get another future first round pick later down the road. But it's very situational. Because I honestly think right now for the Bulls, the biggest thing is just like, you don't want to spend any future assets for sure. So like moving up, I think is almost off the table completely. Moving back though, it would have to be like perfectly timed, and that's a very hard thing to figure out. And with the way that the new CBA is, like, I feel like teams are gonna really hold on to their first round picks like they're the biggest thing in the world, because it's like they probably don't want to give up cost controlled assets, right? Especially with the new CBA and the apron stuff. So it's like first round picks are like they're found money, like they're huge, because they really love teams right now really love cost controlled assets, and first round picks are that for sure. OKC's definitely going to deal at least one pick if they get Phillies. They will probably have to, or they're going to deal one of the younger players. But yeah, they'll probably deal one of them. They got like 7, 16, and 17. Yeah, like if that might be something I might consider, where it's like if we get 4th and it's like, okay, well, we're not getting Cooper Flag, we're not getting Dylan Harper, and I don't know, I'll just say Ace Bailey for now at number 3. Like we're not going to get him. We're not going to get him at number 3 either. And so it's like, okay, well, we like this guy. We think he's not gonna be picked at number 4, 5, 6. Maybe, right? For the Thunder though, I think they might want to just cash in on that for something better, like cash in those picks for a more win now type player. But I don't know. I don't know what Sam Presti's thinking, honestly. He loves picks, so he might just make more picks. But yeah, if that is something, like, it might be something to consider. All right, real quickly before I do end stream here, because I do want to go to bed really quickly here. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning into the stream tonight. I sincerely do appreciate y'all checking in. If you're wondering about my health, by the way, I want to just keep telling myself I am slowly making progress, but I won't lie, it's been pretty rough the past couple of days. So I sincerely apologize about not streaming on Sunday, but I had to take care of myself. But that was planned. I already told you guys I wasn't able to stream on Sunday, pretty much. So sorry about that, but health is getting in a better spot, or at least we're trying to. It's probably gonna take a while though for me. So if I can't go very long on streams, I do apologize, but I am doing my best here. Okay. Really quickly though, before we do end stream, I do want to talk about Ayo Dosunmu's injury. As now that's officially, now we got word that he's gonna have surgery on it. So Ayo, if you're not aware, is going to have shoulder surgery tomorrow. He's out for the rest of the season. The overall rehab and everything, the recovery time before he can even get into full-out rehab, I think is 6 months. But basically, though, the MRI showed that Ayo has a fracture in his left shoulder that he's had for at least 1 to 2 years. And doctors say they don't know when that happened. And then Ayo's overall throughout the season, like, he's had like kind of moments where he's gone if he's gotten hit there, like his arm's gone like limp or numb, but then like he'll be fine the next day. But then the next game was clearly the last straw for him, and so I'm shocked that he even played, honestly, on I don't even know what day it was, but I'm just shocked that he even played in whatever that game was that he did return in. It was against the Raptors, that's what it was. So I'm just overall with Ayo, like, it sucks to see this for him first and foremost. First things first, I just want to point this out for Ayo because a lot of people have not really talked about him too much this year because there's a lot of other things to talk about. But Ayo this year, he's going to end the year with a career high in points per game. Obviously 46 games only, so that's kind of a disappointment, but it's kind of shocking though, because Ayo throughout his first 3 years, he was a very, very healthy player. I mean, 77, 80, 76 games is very, very good. So this is gonna be the first time he's gonna be missing significant time in a season. But he still averaged career high points per game. It is not that much, but I do think it's still a pretty impressive sign overall because he came off the bench more this year, and he you know, he had a worse overall shooting from 3-point range, but last year was very good for Io. A lot of people were really talking about Io's good play last year, and so to go out and almost basically average the same amount of points is great. His assists were up by 1.3 assists per game, so that's good to see. And yet again, his turnovers are still very low for a guy that handles the ball as much as he does. Still 49% or better from the field, which is still good. 3-point percentage, though, took a pretty massive dip, unfortunately. That's not great. Now, I will say, though, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but his 3-point percentage as a starter is just significantly better than him as a reserve. As you can see here, his 3-point percentage as a starter is at 36%, which is very passable, right? That's very fine. His 3-point percentage as a reserve, though, was 27%. That's not good. So don't know what it is. He might just be better as a starter overall. Overall better field goal percentage as well. But still, I think for Io this year, it was a pretty successful year in terms of his play. Unfortunately, the injury is pretty massive. So Io is going to be, he should be ready for training camp. I do think that if there is one thing about this, is just that one, it's good time to get the surgery done now instead of obviously waiting until the offseason, because then you won't be ready for the season. But also, I mean, we really shouldn't be trying to win games for the rest of the season, and Io needs some, at least you would hope that he gets a decent amount of time in the offseason now to go out and not just like, you know, be in like full out recovery or rehab mode, but to go and try to work on some of his game as well. It'd be tough on him, but at least right now, you know, starting it, you know, getting his surgery done in March instead of done in, let's say, April or May, you're gonna have at least some sort of an off season for him, so that's gonna be good to see. It's still, I'm not saying it's gonna be easy or anything like that. He's gonna have a very limited amount of time to go and work on his game without rehabbing, but it's gonna give him a little bit of time compared to what he would have had to, you know, if he got it at the end of April or May. But I do think that if this does do anything, like, I don't think he's gonna get traded this upcoming offseason at least. So I'm a person that wants to keep him because I do think that he's a guy that can, I know his reserve numbers don't look great this season, but I do think he's a guy to come, you know, start or come off the bench. He can, you know, play either guard position off the bench. He can probably be your starting shooting guard in the starting lineup and be a very efficient shooting guard. So I personally would like to keep him around, but this does have major implications for him though, because if he doesn't start the next season healthy, then it's a contract year. So keep that in mind. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to just kind of see how this plays out, but this really does suck for him because I'm first and foremost, I'm happy he's getting it done because it seems like it's been an issue for multiple seasons now. But I'm really hoping that this gets him fully healthy, and then it's going to be a very interesting thing to watch as he recovers and then comes back, and then we're going to have to see how he fits in with the team next season. So Io, hope he gets the surgery goes well. Hopefully no issues, and then we'll see him next year. So yeah, that's that. Now, hopefully also I get well soon, because God almighty, my back is killing me. Yes, I sincerely do apologize about my overall health issues, but I'm not sick. I'm just, I'm having a lot of back pain. So yeah, hopefully that gets fixed soon for me. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning into the stream tonight. It means a lot for you guys still showing up, even after a pretty messed up loss here at the end, where the Bulls were tied with 7 minutes left to go, and then all of a sudden a avalanche happened. Next stream is going to be Bull and the Bulls take on the Orlando Magic. We're going to be in Florida on Thursday, so I will say stream is a little bit up in the air, but I should be able to stream after this game, so plan on it for now. All right, thank you guys so much. You guys have a great night. Please hit the like button on the stream if you haven't already. Ads will play after the stream is officially ended. All right, thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys most likely on Thursday. Peace.